The state of soccer in the United States is looking promising, but there are key problems that are hindering not only its growth, but its potential to be a top league in the world. Something that has plagued the MLS and soccer in the United States is that there's no relegation system. If you go overseas, you go to Europe, you go to Germany, you go to any other top league in the world, their football divisions are all based on relegation and promotion. So what does that mean, right? So the way relegation and promotion work is that the bottom two teams will get kicked from the league that they were in previously, and then the top two teams in the lower division would get bumped up. Essentially, they're just swapping. So why is this important? In the United States, they think of soccer and they think of football as a money grab. And unfortunately, they're not looking for the love of the game. And we see this plague so many teams and so many divisions time and time again. More recently, we've seen the Super League proposed by Perez of Real Madrid. And top teams love it, right? Because they're getting more coverage, they're getting more money and everything like that. But the average fan supporting the average club does not enjoy that. It's suited to the casual fan as opposed to the diehard fans they're going to have for 70 years, and then they're going to pass it to their sons and daughters for another 70 years. The USA is thinking a very, very short term goal here. In the United States, unfortunately, football and soccer has become a pay to win kind of sport. If you want to play soccer in America, you have to pay for a top academy. You have to go to clinics. You have to go to trials. You have to go to all of these, and you have to pay for them out of pocket. And I know for me and other people that play soccer, you can't afford the $1,000 here, the $1,000 there. Soccer in the United States has had a very rough history. It started with the NASL, and that's when Pele and the New York Cosmos were ripping it up in the 70s. But it wasn't really until the 94 World Cup that was held in the United States for soccer to really become prevalent in everyday life. This is another reason why you're not getting top talent. Historically, the MLS gets a bad rap because they don't have good players, they don't have people that are in their primes, all that type of stuff. Players such as Pele, Georgie Best, Beckenbauer, Cruyff, just to name a few, have come over toward the tail end of their career and essentially finished out their football career. Recently, they've done a very good job in bringing in top talent as well as shipping off some youngsters to play in the top five leagues, such as the EPL, such as the Bundesliga, La Liga. These are some of the problems that plague soccer in the United States, but there is a solution. Soccer in the United States has to implement a relegation and promotion system. What I propose is that you give teams in the MLS 5 years, 5 years to scout, 5 years to get their youth teams, 5 years to essentially get everything ready for relegation and promotion, and then implement it on that fifth year. One of the problems that soccer in America has had was that it had to compete with four other top sports, where you had baseball, America's pastime, you have the NFL, you have the NBA. There's so many different types of sports that are inherently bigger than soccer in America. It makes it harder to not only gain viewership, but to surpass them. The biggest fear that the MLS had was that soccer wasn't a top four sport in America. So why are we going to have all these teams from every other county, every other state, if no one's going to watch? The fact is, more people are watching now. Soccer is overtaking some of the top five sports now in the last 3 years based off of pure volume of attendance and viewership. If there were any time to start this relegation and promotion system, it is now. Now, again, the MLS and the future of soccer in America is very promising, but they have to be very, very particular in where they want to grow. We have so many teams now, especially expansion teams, that have celebrities backing them, that have athletes backing them. I mean, you have KD, Mahomes, Oscar De La Hoya, Will Ferrell, just to name a few. And what this has done, it's brought in more viewership, it's brought in more fans, but at the end of the day, they want to make money. The love of the sport of soccer needs to be there. Soccer in the United States has unfortunately been on the back burner for some time now. One of the biggest gripes with the MLS was that there's no competition, there was boring events, and the players were lackluster. What I would like to see from the MLS is them to branch out and play some exhibition games against the top teams in the world. Honestly, what would be fun to watch, I think, would be an all 11 side of the top leagues in the world. I mean, think of it, right? If you had an EPL team against La Liga team, against a Bundesliga team, against an MLS team, against a Serie A team, that would be very fun. And I think as a tournament wise, that would be pretty cool. The only thing that would suck is honestly the picking up the players, but that would gain viewership as well. Soccer is very difficult to make it up the ranks, and especially to get scouted is 10 times harder. And since soccer is not that large in the United States, players that are very promising at a young age can't play for an academy team for, let's say, Philly Union because there's no money in that. In the Premier League, for instance, if you were a promising youngster, you could go through the ranks of, let's say, Liverpool's academy and make it all the way up to the U21 and all that to make the team. Unfortunately, America doesn't have that luxury. They don't have the teams, they don't have the academy, they don't have the money to do all of that because soccer has been on the back burner for so long. If the MLS and United States created a relegation system where they would implement the USL and other leagues that they already have, it would make not only garnering talent easier, but it would refine the league that we already have, the MLS, the USL, the NPSL. That's why it's so great to watch the Premier League, especially with Leicester coming from what, a fourth division team all the way up to Prem winners. I mean, that is unheard of. And unfortunately, in the MLS and in the United States, you won't have that. You won't have those miracle runs because every team will have at least $500 million staked into them. Where if they get lucky one year, boom, they can make it. Of course, you'll have Cinderella runs, but nothing like that where you're climbing division, division, division. That is what creates football fans. That is what keeps people a fan for life. That is what the United States has to do to not only preserve soccer, but to grow it to the potential of a top 5 or a top 10 league.